Information security incidents come in a lot of different forms. In this section, I'm going to give you some examples of various types of information security incidents. One form of security incident would be unauthorized disclosure of sensitive information. Disclosure of sensitive information can come in a lot of different forms, and these are just some of the examples. Verbal communications, two people talking to each other, information could be disclosed. Or while they're talking to each other, someone else could overhear them and learn something about a piece of information that they have no business being privy to. Information could be transmitted to the wrong person via email or via the post office. Under either circumstance, any information received by the wrong person is an incident and it has to be managed as such. Also, sensitive information left sitting on an office printer. This has been a problem for a lot of companies for a long time. Even at MuseLayer, they had certain things occur just like this, where people would pick up a document that was sitting on a printer and it had sensitive information on it. So what they did at MuseLayer was they implemented a set of printers that require an individual to use their badge in order to be able to gain access to the printer, and only the print jobs that belong to that person will actually print when they're at the printer. That way they can take possession of them immediately and nobody else will have the opportunity to see them. And then we also have sensitive information left out on a desk. A clean desk policy is a great way of dealing with this. Your organization should require people to put away any sensitive information whenever they're going to leave their desk area, whether it's at the end of the day or just during the business day. Sensitive data could be compromised if the equipment that it's stored on is stolen. For example, if somebody steals a hard drive, obviously there's data on that hard drive. If it's of a sensitive nature, that could be a serious security breach for that company. The same thing would be true of thumb drives, optical media like CDs, DVDs, backup media, the actual backup tape that's used to store the data from servers in a secure fashion. What about printers? A lot of people don't think about this, but printers oftentimes have hard drives in them. So if someone were to steal a printer, they could then take the hard drive out of that printer and gain access to all the documents that may have been printed on that printer for a certain period of time. And some of that information could be highly sensitive. And then, of course, there's the obvious things like laptops, tablets, PCs, cell phones, etc. All of those types of computing devices may have sensitive data stored on them, and if they're stolen, you need to treat those events as serious security incidents. What about viruses or malware outbreaks? Data can be corrupted or stolen due to virus and malware being found on computer systems. Some forms of malware give hackers unauthorized access to computers so they can do whatever they want with the computers and access any files that are on that computer at will. Some forms of malware will actually send specific data directly back to the hacker, so things like data files and contact lists might be compromised immediately. So we really need to take a look at virus and malware and how we're dealing with those types of events, and making sure that all of our systems, all of the endpoints within our network, our workstations, our servers, etc., are highly protected from these types of things. Something else that you should consider with regards to security incidents is the successful or failed attempts of someone to gain unauthorized access to facilities, systems, or data. Individuals will attempt to access your buildings and or gain access to your computer systems even though they haven't been granted permission to do that. So monitoring access logs will alert you to both successful and failed attempts to access these buildings or computer systems. So as a part of your security incident management process, monitoring access logs should be one of the activities that you do. Well, what about if somebody gains access to information, and what about if that information happens to be sensitive? Unauthorized access of information containing PII and other sensitive information is a serious security incident. PII stands for personally identifiable information. So, examples of PII includes things like social security numbers, driver's license numbers, financial data, credit card numbers, account numbers, medical records, health insurance account information. These are all PII related pieces of information, and there are more. If you notice that somebody has gained unauthorized access to PII, you have to treat that incident with all kinds of severity because there's regulatory requirements of how you deal with security breaches that deal with PII. One way for individuals to gain unauthorized access to your information and your systems is by compromising your user accounts. They get access to your usernames, and that's something that usually can be done pretty easy, but then they also find ways to gain access to passwords and PIN numbers. And once they've done that, they can gain access to the systems as if it was you actually accessing the data. Now, there could be a loss or unauthorized use of building access cards or keys. If you lose your access cards or your keys to a building, or if it's access cards to get into data centers or to actually log on to computer systems, you must report that information immediately so they can disable those cards and issue you new ones, because whoever finds those cards, you've just given them carte blanche to gain access to the things that you and only you should have access to. Improper disposal of private, restricted, or confidential information should be considered an information security incident, and it should be reported immediately. Individuals will go to great lengths to gain access to your sensitive data. They'll even go into the back of your buildings at night and jump into your garbage dumpsters just to be able to gain access to documents that you may have thrown out by accident. It's called dumpster diving. Don't make it easy for these individuals. At MuseLayer, what they did was they put secure shred bins around the office, and it became a policy that any sensitive, confidential, or restricted data needs to be discarded through the shred bin process. A company picks up those shred bins and shreds all the documents in it so that nobody can gain unauthorized access to that information.